Let's talk about relational operators. Relational operators is going to be the first video of a few videos. It's going to allow our application to kind of be able to make choices later. So it's a really important topic to grasp because most times we kind of understand it not fully. We utilize it without fully knowing what's going on. And this is important. This is why we're going to divide this in multiple videos. You're going to see what I mean as we go through if you have some prior experience. So let's talk about relational operators. Before we get there, we need to understand one thing. We've already utilized this thing with an equal sign. The first equal sign, just an equal sign, sorry, it's representing that we're assigning a value from the right side to the left side. So the one equal sign is to assign a value. It could be a variable. We're taking the value of that variable and we're assigning it to the left side, whatever the left side is. Now this is important. It's never going to be different. You might see variables on the right side, but it's always taking out the values. And this is going to be a bit more interesting when we come to references and pointers. But for now, just remember one equal sign equals assignment. Now, getting there a bit more interesting enough, Java and many other languages, they provide us with a lot of relational operators. These are relational operators. What they're doing is to allow us to compare the left side and the right side and to determine something. As an example, we could determine if the left side is equal to the right side, as we see here on the first one. Let me take out my selection. Well, you could see it on my screen. So the first one is to compare the left side and the right side. Are they equal to? The second one is an interesting one, and we're going to come back to this exclamation mark. When you see the exclamation mark, it's most likely telling you a not, whatever that is. So not equal to, not whatever this was. I'm gonna go a bit more with examples, but just remember the exclamation usually represents the negative or the inverse. And in putting it in front of the equal, we're saying it's not equal to. Then we get to the third one, greater than. So the left side is greater than the right side. Now, I'm listing all of this and I'm going step by step, reading it out loud to you because programming is made to be really like an English sentence. The better you could express yourself or the better you utilize the words and the terminology, the better you could formulate your code. So this is important to kind of understand what is the word that's associated with these relational operators. So the next one we got is a greater sign and an equal. We're saying that the left side is greater than or, so it could be either one, or equal to the right side. So you could either be equal or the left side is bigger than the right side. And we do the same thing with lesser than. So the left side is lesser than the right side. The left side is lesser than or equal to the right side. So in both cases, we're always comparing the left to the right, right, for all of this. Now, one important aspect to understand is that all of these questions, all of these relational operators, they're always going to give you a Boolean answer. And this is really important. You're going to see in part 2 video or part 3 video, actually, we're going to talk about Boolean answers and why it's important to understand that these are just Boolean answers and not real questions. Because some people get confused and they think that, well, we'll come back to it in video 3. So remember that, importantly, all of these are Boolean answers. So what does that mean for us? Let's try a couple of these. We're going to go from top to bottom and we're going to try everything that there is. Let's create a few variables. In this case, we're going to utilize integer because it's an easy thing to compare. Let's say int. Now, the first thing is we talked about is the equal sign means assign. So here I'm saying a equals to 5. So the value of 5 is going to go into A. Then I'm going to say B equals to 7. So we're saying 7 goes inside. That value 7 goes inside B. And lastly, let's say C equals to B. Now, I'm not saying that C is also B. we're saying that the value inside of B is going to be copied inside of C. So now A is 5, B is 7, and C is also 7. If I change B now, C is not going to be affected. If I change C now, B is not going to be affected. And that's an important thing to grasp. So it's a copy of whatever the variable had. So these are assignments. Now let's try out these relational operators. In this case, remember, they're all going to give us a Boolean value, so we could store them inside of a Boolean, and we could say some questions, like, I don't know, let's say question 1 is A. Oops, I may put a bit too many. So we're assigning to Q1, question 1, is A equal to B, right? This is going to be done before the assignment. So the right side needs to be finished before we could do the final assignment and transfer the value to Q1. You'll notice here it's going to give you a little warning saying, well, it's obviously going to always be false because the value is set beforehand. But it's okay for now. Let's just keep going forward. So the same way I could put it inside of a variable, I could also output it to a screen. As an example, we could say, is B equal to C? And we obviously know it's always going to be true because they both have the same value, right? Maybe I'll print out, I'll print out Q1 as well. So here it should give us false because A is 5, B is 7, they're not equal. And over here it should give us true. Let's just do a quick run to see how it works. I'm gonna just clear our screen for a second. So you could see the first one is false, the second one is true. And obviously we could clean this up by putting some text, maybe A equal B, and we could say concatenate that with something. So we cleaned it out, and if we run it again, we're going to get this nicer, cleaner thing that tells us A, does it equal to B? Well, we got false. And we could also do that for the next one. So here we said, actually we could just copy that, put a little thing, and concatenate it with our question. Notice here, we're getting the string error that we had before, because we have one side that's string and we have another side that's a Boolean, right? Well, sorry, this side. Well, this is going to be done, it messes it up, okay? So just to ensure that we don't make these mistakes, I'm going to surround them. There's no need to memorize what comes first, what comes after. Use the parentheses to your advantage, making sure that this operation is going to be done first, and then we're going to do a string concatenation. It's good enough. Let's just run it. I'm not going to do this for all of them. We're just going to do a little bit so we see the common errors that normally we see. All right, let's bring back our little thing. So we've done the equal to. Now, the not equal is important as well. The not equal could be utilized in many ways. So first, we could just do, let's say, question 2. We could do an easy one, which is, does A not equal to B? This is going to give us true, right? Because A is 5 not equal to B, which is 7. Is 5 not equal to 7? That's true. We could also say, question 3, the value of question 3 is not question 2. Remember what I told you? When you see an exclamation mark, it means not. It means the inverse. Whatever that value is, take the inverse if possible. Mind you, this is possible because Boolean only has another value. A true becomes a false becomes true. But if I try a not, let's say not 7, this makes no sense. What is a not 7? It's every other number inside the integer domain, right? So here we can apply the exclamation to an integer or anything that has more than 2 values, right? So here we could either write Q2, we could write some weird stuff like this. Not true, which is false. We could write not false, which is true. Anyway, right? Also, just to point out, why would you use this not symbol ever? Well, it's great to inverse. Maybe you have a switch. Maybe you're doing the lights. You're turning on the lights and you go at the switch, you click it. You could say whatever the value is, switch it to the other side. So the user could keep pressing the button and you would just have this simple line of code rather than anything complicated, right? It's really powerful if utilized correctly. So anyway, let's go out. Let's put some prints, Q2, Q3. So now we should see Q2 true, Q3 false. Let me clear the screen again. True and false, right? Not equal, true. And the not of whatever that question was, which was true, so make it false. Great stuff. All right, let's try. I'm just going to do a couple. If you're done with this, you could move on to the next video. I'm just gonna go through each one of them. If the English makes sense to you, you're pretty much done. So let's do Boolean question 4, and we're gonna do a greater than. So we're gonna say is 5. So is A greater than B, right? And then we could remember that we're using variables, but we could always use a value as well, right? So question 5 could be is, I don't know, is 4 greater than 9. This is also going to give you false, right? You could print those out. Let's try some other stuff. Actually, one more that we want to try here, question 6, would be is 5 greater than 5, right? Is 5 bigger than 5? Now, obviously, with your English, depending on your English, you would already know what the answer would be. So here 5 and here question 6. So on question 6, our last one, try guessing the value. Maybe pause the video and think about it. But when you run this, you should notice that question 6, which is 5 bigger than 5, will return you a false, right? 5 is not bigger than 5. 5 is equal to 5. So what that means for us is if you wanted it to be true for 5, Boolean Q7, you would need to make it 5. Is it bigger than or equal to 5? And in this case, it will print us out true. Right, the last one. I should clean this up, but we're just doing a quick demo. Okay. It's the same thing with smaller than. I would suggest you try all of them out. See anything you could see. If you have questions, just implement them. Try them out. Don't wait for someone to tell you this happens or that happens. If you have doubts, it's the moment to experiment and break it. The best part about computer science, the best part about programming is whatever damage you're doing within this, let's say Java and so forth, so on, it's not going to affect anything else. Experiment with it, break it, it's fine. If anything, just reinstall the software. You'll be fine. See you guys in the next video.